Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. I am Dan Scott, the voice of the Paladins. Good to be back with you. Get back on a regular rotation, and going to talk some women's lacrosse this week with Kirkland Lewis, the head coach of that program. Her team, we're recording this as always on Tuesday. Her team opens conference play against Longwood tomorrow on Wednesday. We'll talk about all of that. That's Big South Conference play for you lacrosse fans. And just kind of catch up on how things are going. It's good to see you.
You too. It's been a while.
It has been. Things have been a little crazy around here. I guess you've noticed that, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff going on. How you been?
It's been good. It's been a successful season so far. It's nice to have a normal season from fall all the way into spring, so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I asked you right before we started, and I want to explore this a little bit. If this was more of a normal season, if things were moving a little slower for you, because for folks who don't remember, you came in last year late as the head coach at a point when things should have already been happening for weeks, and we all remember the circumstances there. So you had to come in running at a full sprint and never stopped, right?
Correct.
So how has this year been different for you?
Well, it's been nice. I think the biggest thing has been that we're fully staffed. So I have 2 assistants that have just been doing an amazing job, and just having people to bounce ideas off of, and just having a chance to really know the team, from move-in day all the way through, work with them through the fall, I think has been really nice to just have different touch points, and nothing's rushed. Everything's kind of set, and then we just have to worry about games come springtime.
Yeah, it's intriguing because on one hand, you've got a badge of honor that you can wear twice as being the only head coach or the only coach on a lacrosse staff at 2 different schools, but that's not a badge that you want to wear, is it?
No, not particularly at all. It's definitely something you can brag about after the fact, but when you're in it, you're just like, oh, I wish I had help.
So tell me about your assistants.
Yeah, so Carly Gilbert came to us from Butler University. She's a Philly native as well. So I had worked with her in the summer at a different lacrosse event, and we just got along really well. And I knew I needed someone that had a little bit of experience. She played 6 years of lacrosse at Lock Haven, was able to take advantage of the COVID year as well. But she's really excellent on the draw and has a good offensive mind. So I thought she would be a great addition. And then Destiny Colon was someone who just really wanted to get into college coaching, and she's just really great at bringing a lot of energy. She's a defensive-minded player and coach now. So it's been nice to just put in full systems and have all of us really have an understanding of our roles. But the biggest thing is that our players have so many more resources to go to with questions, individuals, and just try to, do whatever they can to get better. There's someone to help them.
So what's the balance? Because obviously both of these ladies are not too far removed from their collegiate careers.
Yeah.
So they have that recent experience and maybe can relate to the players. That makes you the veteran coach?
Yeah, it does. But I think it's a lot of learning and just a lot of collaboration. So I think it's a little bit more on me in the early part to make sure I'm giving roles and responsibilities very clearly and open for questions that, in my mind, I think are just gimmies, but they might have follow-up. So it's definitely, they've caught on quick, and I just think because they want to be in coaching and they have a passion for the game, it's gone pretty smoothly.
When you have gone through a situation where you're running the entire show by yourself for the most part, and now you've got 2 assistants, do you have to remind yourself to take the blinders off and to let go of things?
Yeah, I always laugh sometimes just where if I think I know it, everyone knows it, right? Because I know what's going on. So it's just making sure I'm relaying everything that I just feel like people should know.
Or not just trying to do everything on your own like you had to do. Is that hard to let go of?
A little bit, like different scenarios.
Freak?
No, I'm not super control freak. I think there's some things where I'm like, yes, please take these things. But there's other things where I really do like to be in the know with everything. But you could probably ask them, but I don't think I've had too hard of a time letting things go.
Yeah, maybe we'll get them up here and give them 10 minutes for rebuttal.
I need to see it before you air it.
So you are a control freak.
Outed myself there.
There you go. Kirkland Lewis with us on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. How's the season gone to this point?
It's been up and down. I think, if we're just comparing it on our non-conference slate last year, we're doing better. I think we were really, really happy with how we played against Florida. That was big-time competition. And then we squeaked away with a couple wins, which it's really exciting to win. But I think we thought we could do a little bit better in those scenarios. And then some games got away from us. But it's definitely been helpful to grow each game and try to just tackle some consistency as we go along.
And we talk about this with every sport, particularly at this level. Your non-conference schedule is to prepare you for the conference schedule, which is going to determine whether you make the postseason or not by what you do by winning the conference tournament. So it sounds like you wanted to challenge this team, challenge yourself, challenge the entire program with the non-conference portion of the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to have really competitive games, and then it's really a good experience to see. When we played Florida, they were ranked 7, so to be able to play a top 10 program in the country, you just get to see what it's like, the pace of game, the aggressiveness, the lax IQ. So, we're not going to see a team better than them moving forward. So it really is a huge learning experience to see if we even show up for that game. Mm-hmm. And then all of our other games, I mean, none of the games were expected wins. We knew we would have to show up and compete.
You finished tied for third in the conference last season, which was the first year in the Big South, and how all of that took place. You were picked preseason number 4 this year. Does that speak to the strength of the conference? Still maybe a little bit of a lack of respect for the program? Something you take a little personally here? What does that preseason 4 mean to you?
I think it stung a little bit just because we really did show that we earned that 3 seed, and we made it to the tournament. So I was a little shocked that we were 4, but I do think it's just something we're just gonna have to keep showing up and proving that we're not 4 in order to get the respect we think we deserve.
What's the overall strength of the conference?
I mean, it's definitely top heavy. I think Mercer right now has just been on a tear, in their non-conference doing pretty well, and High Point always is going to be up there. And then I think it really is Campbell, Furman, and I think Winthrop will do really well this season. So it'll kind of taper after that, but I really do think it's going to be a battle for 3 and 4 again.
And top 4 teams?
Top 4 teams.
Go to the conference tournament. So, if they're right in the preseason, at least you're there and have a chance, right?
Yes.
But we know that you have to go out and earn that. How do your players view things like that, or do you even talk about it?
We talk about it for sure, and I think they are a little bit like how I view it. Is just like, oh, really? And then, all right, well, let's do our best to try to prove them wrong. We want to end up not 4. We'd like to do better than 3. So I just think it's something where we just have to go back to work. But it's not something that I think hangs over us, too long. I think I haven't thought about the preseason, since probably 2 weeks after it came out. And then it was like, all right, well, we got to move on.
You got to get to work.
Yeah.
3 captains, Megan Bill, Hannah Dentino, Caitlin Sousa. Megan and Hannah were also preseason All Big South selections, but tell me about those 3 young ladies and why they are your team captains.
Yeah, I mean, our team picks our captains. HD was a captain last year, so her stepping into that role again as a senior, I think, has been really nice to see her grow. And they all bring very similar qualities, but in different ways. So they all have a real passion for her team. They're very competitive. They're intense. They're talented. But I think Meg is really bright. She really does her best to bring people along with her, and she's so good at just with our freshmen of just kind of showing them this is the way we do things here. And Caitlin Sousa is just kind of the person that she models the behavior that she expects from her teammates every day. And then HD is just like she's she's just someone that you can depend on. I think everyone really feels comfortable going to her on and off the field with questions, concerns, but they are all three very supportive. They lead the program really well, so I think we have another really solid group of captains this season.
Being selected by your teammates obviously is special because that shows how much they respect you. But as a coach, what do you expect out of your captains?
Yeah, I think it's just I expect clear communication and to really for them to advocate for their teammates if something's going on, if the team's, if their legs are heavy or it's a tough time academically, it's up to them to really communicate that with the coaches so that we can maybe taper practice or just have an idea of where people are at. But also to make sure that they're holding their teammates accountable. I think that's the hardest part of being a captain is your friends, but then you're in this a little bit of a leadership role. But it's always to make sure that they're setting the proper example for not just our team, but, in the greater Furman community and then in Greenville. So they're very high expectations, but they've done a really nice job so far.
And it's one of those things where when done correctly, sports is a microcosm of life because they're learning those kind of skills here. Yeah, it's in the framework of what's going on the field, but they're learning these skills interacting as a leader that if they do it right can really benefit them as they go on in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that especially with seniors. So they're all kind of balancing visiting grad schools and going on interviews and applications along with being in season and finishing their final spring in college. And so it is a lot of balancing and they have all these different commitments. And so it's just kind of for them, their first understanding of putting things in priority order, but understanding the long game of, you still have to do these really big, exciting things for what's next, but you also have a commitment to the team. And it's just, it's all a balance, but it's definitely a true learning experience for adulthood after.
When you took over on the fly last year because of the circumstances, previous coach leaving, you coming in, there was some roster turnover, and you had to deal with that as the season went on. So you come into this year, you've got 15 letter winners coming back. You've got 9 starters coming back, 6 newcomers on the team. Do you feel like things have stabilized there?
I do. I think there's not so much nervousness about what to expect because a lot of the returners had me last spring.
Right.
So there's definitely a little less, I think, frazzled bits that happen day in and day out. But it's really nice to have dependability, consistency, and just expectations of what players can do and where we can put them. And then just to add in, our new players into that to try to, keep it competitive.
When you take all of the things we've talked about here and now you start stacking some potential milestones, Wesley Herring tells me that Megan Bill, Hannah Dentino are both approaching 100 career goals, which will become only the 5th and 6th players in program history. And this is a young program still in the grand scheme of things. They hung around. They checked out this new coach and they decided to stay here and continue to stamp the legacy that they have here with Furman lacrosse. What does that mean to you? Because you had to win over some people, right?
Yeah, I mean, it means everything. And I think I've said this before, but I knew that coming in. I think Jason really was like, there's a couple kids, you got to get them on board. But I think it speaks less so of just me as a coach, but more so of what they thought of the potential of Furman and the program here. I think they really saw the long game, the end vision of what they could potentially do, and to be approaching 100 goals, given that they had a COVID season where they only played 5 games, is really, really phenomenal. And to be reaching that this early on, it's so exciting. And I know that Meg didn't know till the other day because I told her, and I guarantee she has no clue that they're even close to that. So I think it's really exciting that they're just working because they want to work hard for the team, not for individual statistics.
Yeah, Megan Bill's sitting at 97 career goals right now, and Hannah Dentino at 90.
90, yep. Yeah, it's. I mean, they're definitely going to blow past that by the time the end of the season comes around. So, again, to be hitting that milestone so early on, I think is really awesome. So
you've got some established leadership there in the right spots. Tell me about the youngsters.
Yeah, so we have a small freshman group. Reynolds Hester definitely was standing out in the beginning. She is a really smart attacker. She's a great feeder. She has great vision. She's just tall too and athletic. So we really saw some great success with her early on in our non-conference games. Fortunately, she got injured, so we're not sure about her return, but definitely excited to have her back on the field. And then Grace Gibson also has just been having a phenomenal season so far. She's started in almost all of the games and has taken on matchups in these big conference games and has just done her job. And she's someone, I just think she's very mature for a freshman. She doesn't really get in her head mentally. She's good at taking feedback, and she just is growing. And then Abby Shearer as well is just getting better as the season goes on with all this game experience. So it's nice to just see them develop so quickly, but also to fit into our systems really well. So they're doing a good job.
So knowing that it takes a certain kind of student athlete to be able to come to Furman anyway,
Yep.
because of the academic standards, and then that multiplies if you want to try and pull somebody in from the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Are you a coach? What's your philosophy? Will you use have you used the portal? Is it something that's just an occasional tool to help, or what's your philosophy as far as building the roster?
I am in the portal every day. I just go in there.
Not bashful about it at all, right?
No, like I just think it's something for us. We definitely need. I think just thinking in years to come, we're running out of those COVID years, so I think it'll definitely slow down. But also, we have a huge freshman group coming in next year, and so I know that we're going to need experienced older players just to balance out culture things and off-field kind of pieces. But it is hard to transfer into Furman and be able to be eligible right away. That's what I've learned. So it's making sure that you can't just pick anyone out of the portal. You need similar school alignment and to see if the majors would maybe match up. So it's a lot more in depth than I initially thought. I'm like, I'm going to go to the portal and clean house because who wouldn't want to come to Furman? But it takes a lot more than that, obviously, to pull it off.
And obviously it's a challenge whether you're recruiting freshmen to come in or now with the availability of the transfer portal. It's a challenge to get kids into Furman, and yet I talk to practically every coach on this every coach on this campus, and it's a challenge that they embrace rather than something they dread, because they know that the kids they get in here are going to be high-quality kids.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that that's the best part is that you don't have to weed too much through. Like once you find similar school alignments or academic standards, then you can go from there. And again, a certain type of kid is going to be able to have success at high academic school and with high athletics. So I agree. I don't think it's something to turn away from because it's hard to do. It's just going to take time, but it'll have a really big payoff.
Yeah, just so people know, I always joke that I may be the only play-by-play guy in America who works for a school who would not have let him in as a student. So... So I came at the right time, much later.
There you go.
much later. We're visiting with Kirkland Lewis, the women's lacrosse coach here at Furman. As we start to get into wrap-up mode now, we mentioned we're recording this on Tuesday. Big South Conference, I want to say Southern Conference. Big South Conference opener is tomorrow night, Wednesday, 6 p.m. here at Paladins Stadium against Longwood. So let's talk about that a little bit, and then just talk about what the conference season is going to mean. But let's talk about this opener tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to have our conference opener be home, and just we've been on the road for the past 3 games, so it's nice to be back. And we saw Longwood in the fall, so it's nice to they have a new coach too, so it's hard to put any expectations on what they're going to look like, but I think we are more focused on us going into this game and just making sure that we can walk away from it feeling really proud of what we produced on the field. It's not just about wins and losses. I mean, we definitely want to win, but I want to win the way we know that we can. And that's the piece that we've been missing. Even in the games that we won, we've won in overtime. We've won with 4 seconds left and just by one.
And that's kind of a holdover from last year,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
So maybe you're, and you'll understand. I hope the spirit I say this. Maybe you're just a drama queen. Maybe
is it me? I'm the problem.
Or maybe that's how you function best, and you're just not embracing it.
I can tell you, I do not function best under these circumstances.
Yeah, you want 15-point wins and all
Yeah,
that.
we'd love to cruise to a 15-point win, have a running clock. But I think it's again a show of kind of we were going through this mid-season last year where we were in tight games and winning, and to have it happening early on, I feel like shows how quickly we had to develop in a short time last year versus we have so much longer and more games this year to kind of develop the team as we go. So I think tomorrow will be a really still competitive game, but a really strong start for us to just get our heads on straight. We've gone into Big South just starting new, like non-conference doesn't matter anymore. This is where it matters. So we have to make sure that we're putting things together and things are clicking and the team's all on the same page in order to have the most success we can.
Because unless I miss my guess, it's like every other sport on this campus. It's going to be a one-bid league, right?
Yes. Yeah, it really is. It's going to be really tight. And I think this year, because of what happened last season, there's teams that are going to be coming for us a little extra hard. I don't think we're going to be overlooked like we were last year. So instead of, being the underdog a little bit, we have to now carry the burden of staying on top. And that's a different viewpoint from last year. So it feels a little different. You have to work harder, and you got to want it more.
Embrace the challenge.
Embrace the challenge.
All right. Anything else we need to get to? We're going to start back next week, I believe, on Mondays with our In the Crease episodes for the women's lacrosse program, the 15-minute or so weekly interviews that we started last year to go a little deeper inside the program. So obviously we're going to have a chance to delve into these things deeper as we go. But right now, before we wrap up, anything else that we need to talk about?
No, I think we plan to have our alumni on campus on Saturday, so that'll be really exciting to see some of the alumni that I've never met. Looking to have them back, and again, just starting Big South is really exciting, so I'm happy to be back for year 2.
And Saturday's game is against who and what time?
Campbell at 1 o'clock.
Here at Paladins Stadium.
Here at Paladins Stadium.
Alumni are coming back. Sounds like it's going to be a fun week.
Yeah, we have a good week set up for us.
Might as well go ahead and get a couple of wins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the plan. always the plan. Yeah, no trouble at all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's fun to catch up again.
You too.
That is Kirkland Lewis. We've been talking women's lacrosse on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. Look forward to being back with you again same time next week. Until then, for all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you and so long, everybody.